Hey guys, and welcome back to the ASX Investor channel, and welcome to another ASX CEO interview. I'm very excited to be once again revisiting the Imugene story with you all. We're all familiar with ASX IMU. They're one of the leading ASX Biotech companies, and they're playing in the immuno-oncology space, really trying to make a tangible difference for those suffering from cancer around the world. You're all familiar with Leslie Chong, the CEO of Imugene. She's been on the channel before, and she's definitely a favorite. Welcoming you back, Leslie. Welcome. It's been a big milestone day for the story.
I know. Well, thanks so much for having me back. It's always a pleasure.
Of course, we'll talk about the news flow and the announcements that everyone's really excited to hear about, but we know about the dance card. We know the pipeline. How's it going? Can you give us a quick update on it all?
Absolutely. But foremost in my mind right now is our first patient in for CHECKVacc. And for those of you who have not followed the story or don't know about CHECKVacc, CHECKVacc is it's an oncolytic viral therapy that has been invented by a Professor Yuman Fong out of City of Hope. This is his 24 years in the making, his dream invention. And we get to put it in an indication, a cancer indication called triple negative breast cancer. This one's really hits close to my heart because one of my best friends who actually lives in Melbourne was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer on her 40th birthday. And we have been working diligently to have a product worthy of her name because we've named the study after her, called Dominica. And so to have the first patient in, I'm just thrilled to think about these women who have come in with no options and maybe have a new lease on life. And for Dr. Yuman Fong, what an achievement. So he's, I'm not sure if all inventors in the world get to see their products in patients, but he gets to see one of his products be in patients. So I'm just thrilled.
It's such an incredibly important mission, and everyone's definitely going to be hoping for success through it. It's a milestone day, but can we maybe talk a little bit about oncolytic viruses? Can you talk about how they work and why they're such an exciting place in the science at the moment for them?
So everything in Imugene, I'm proud and happy to report that we modulate your immune system somehow. So we get your immune system to work in a way that it should be working, that it finally sees the cancer, we unveil the cancer, we elicit your immunity to come and, come to the fight of getting rid of cancer in your own body. And with oncolytic virus, that's no exception. So we have a very virulent, it has an extreme hatred for solid tumors. So in this case, it only replicates in solid tumors. So the virus only replicates in malignant cells, leaves the healthy cells alone because it can't replicate. And it multiplies at an accelerated rate. It explodes the cells, then having these fragments of antigens or proteins float around so that your immune system they get very curious and then sends out the troops to get rid of it. So it's the circular ongoing action of your immune system along with our oncolytic virus.
And you've talked about it there as well. It's been a long period of work to get here. It's the start of the trial, but there's been many years of work behind it. Can you give a bit of an insight into what the process is to get to this stage and also what happens from here moving forward?
So it's interesting because the statistics are that 1 out of 15,000 little speck of invention even makes it to the translational or stage, which becomes a drug candidate. So out of even that, only 1 out of 10,000 get to be into a clinic. So you could imagine the breadth of work that it took. With this, we took, once we acquired it from City of Hope, we took 2 years to ensure that the FDA was okay with all the safety parameters, all the toxicology tests that we went through, that the drug was made, and that had to be tested for stability, for safety. It had to be a myriad of different tests and animals. And then we're finally here where it goes through the FDA IND with surveillance, and then it goes through an ethics review board. And prior to that, there was a myriad of science reviews that it had to go through in order to make it into the patients. So now we have a patient on, and it's a 3+3 design where the regulatory authorities make you stagger the patient. So even though we have the patient on, and they go through many screening exams to get to this point, the patient comes on and we now have to wait a series of days to make sure that this patient is okay until we get our second dose. And so 3 patients will be evaluated, and then we'll dose escalate. What's beautiful about this, and I think what's going to be expeditious, is that Imugene Fong has invented such a powerful oncolytic virus that will likely see activity, maybe even at this low dose, or maybe even at the second dose, unlike a lot of different oncolytic viruses out there.
And you touched on it there, but maybe just to help to provide an insight for those viewers, what are you actually looking for in phase 1 trials, and what are you hoping to get out of them?
Well, most phase 1 studies in cancer is basically phase 1, you look for safety. Phase 2, you have your proof of concept, and then phase 3 is when you market it. So it seems pretty straightforward, but what's happening now in the space, when you see activity even at phase 1, and we look for it, I mean, we really want to see some level of safety. I think we'll have that in spade. I think what we'll find is that we'll have some efficacy markers or early targeted signs that we're modulating the immune system, and we'll find out a lot about how CHECKVacc works. And then we could either adapt it into a phase 1/2 study, or even go through the whole registration or phase 3, but it's all according to how patients respond to your drug. And with CHECKVacc, what we plan on doing is to take a sponsored IND approach and go wide into other indications besides triple negative breast cancer.
Really a phenomenal achievement. So congratulations to yourself, Dr. Imugene Fong, and the rest of the team for bringing this to life. We'll continue to watch where it heads. Maybe just a bit of an update as well on the rest of the pipeline. How's it tracking? We know there's been news flow across the rest of the pipeline too recently.
Sure. So CHECKVacc, first patient in, so that's a major milestone. Our vaccinia, or our parental virus, we're marching right towards an FDA IND and then starting to open up studies. We're already doing feasibility with some clinics and sites and oncologists, and having these great conversations to start our study in full with mass amount of solid tumors. So we're going after hard to easy solid tumors across the board, intratumorally and intravenously. And with onCARlytics, our CF33, our oncolytic virus that expresses CD19 or flags the CD19 to the malignant cells, we are starting our in vitro and vivo collaboration with Cellularity. And we're also having conversations with other companies about other collaborative efforts or partnership. And then with HERVaxx and PD-1vax, HERVaxx, finishing out the OS, and we're simply waiting for the event data to come in. And then having some conversations, I think I've said many times that we're having some advanced conversations about various different things with various different companies. And then with PD-1vax, we're finishing out our last and final recommended phase 2 dose, our optimal biological dose in the lung cancer space, and that's cohort 3. So pretty active, and then there's a myriad of nematopes and other things being constructed.
Plenty to continue watching for. I'd like to ask you on a personal note, you always state, follow the science. Over the past year and more, the science has continued pointing in one direction. You must be absolutely blown away with it. I'd just love to hear some reflections on how that's made you feel, and any thoughts really continuing to move forward with it all.
You're absolutely right. I think if you follow the science, the value, the measure of a company will follow. And I think that's exactly what's happened with Imugene. If you don't have the science and if you don't have the data at the end of the day, you really don't have much to go by. What we're trying to do is to make a meaningful difference in certain kinds of cancer indication. And I think that's exactly what we're doing.
To make a meaningful difference for many around the world. It's definitely a noble mission, and one we'll continue to watch. That's the Imugene story. It's ASX IMU. If you guys enjoy the video, feel free to hit the like button and share it out. If you're new, welcome. We make daily videos, so make sure you subscribe and turn your bell notifications on. Leslie, it's always a pleasure to catch up. Congratulations, and we'll definitely have to chat again soon.
So great to speak to you. Thank you so much for having me on.